Peace within before power over others. I want to talk about something I've seen everywhere, not just in one industry or in one family, not even in one generation. I just want to talk about one pattern repeating across environments. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you understand it, you start realizing how much power you actually have to change things quietly, responsibly, and without force. So here's the pattern. When balance is missing internally, power becomes destructive externally. It doesn't matter how that power shows up, whether it's physical authority, money, influence, parenting, leadership. If the inner state is imbalanced, the outward impact is instability. I didn't arrive at this philosophically. I learned it through proximity. I've spent years in high-stakes environments, executive protection, crisis situations, rooms where decisions are made quickly and quietly, and where consequences appear long after the moment has actually passed. So those environments teach you this very, very quickly. It teaches you that money does not stabilize people. Status does not mature anyone. Power does not heal people. And power itself amplifies whatever is already there. Why I'm talking about this. I didn't set out to learn this. I never wanted to orbit crisis so much or self-destruction long enough to gain any of this kind of perspective. But patterns you can predict and behaviors you recognize instantly, outcomes you can see coming before anyone else does, all of that, it just adds up. And I'm tired. Not emotionally, but structurally. There's a specific exhaustion that comes from helping people who refuse to balance themselves. You can offer skills, you can offer insight, you can even offer support. But if someone won't take responsibility for their inner state, then they export all of that chaos everywhere they go. And then they call it something cute like circumstance or who knows what. That's when you learn a really hard truth, that you can't build safety around imbalance. It is crucial. Power fails without balance. Here's why this always ends the same way. You see, power removes friction. It gives up the fight. For most people, life pushes back. People say, no, get in line. It starts back there. Consequences arrive quickly if there are problems, and feedback is usually honest. But power softens all of that resistance. People tolerate behavior they shouldn't. They excuse instability because the person is important. They adjust themselves to keep access. When someone is balanced, power becomes impact. When they're not, it becomes permission. Permission to avoid accountability. Permission to avoid restraint. Permission to avoid reflection. over time, that causes damage no rule can fix. Because the problem was never the power, it was the imbalance holding it. Power without balance always collapses because it was never stable to begin with. Personal safety. This is my first scale. So, in personal safety, this principle is obvious. You don't give force to someone who can't stay calm under stress. Not because force or pressure is evil, but because stress reveals who someone actually is. Panic creates mistakes. Ego creates overreaction. Fear creates collateral damage. Authority, money, influence, all of these are force multipliers. If the person holding them isn't balanced, those tools don't create safety. They create harm. Different environment, same pattern. Family stability. The quiet test. I learned this lesson in one of the quietest, hardest ways during the first year with my baby. He did not sleep much, which meant none of us slept much. Exhaustion shortens your patience. And I noticed something really uncomfortable. How I handled him taught everyone else in the house how to handle everything. If I spoke with frustration, even subtly, I set a standard, not just for the baby, but for the entire household. I taught that irritation was acceptable behavior, that tension was normal, that snapping made sense, it was okay. And once that tone was set, it spread. First the baby, then the dog, then each other. That's when I had to confront something. If I wasn't balanced first, I taught everyone else that imbalance. And not only that, I taught them that it was acceptable. So sometimes the only solution was slowing everything down. Holding him. Breathing deliberately. Just lightly touching his back, making sure it's in a calm way. Holding him like I wish my mom could hold me. Letting myself cry if needed. Not from weakness, but just to reset the nervous system in the entire room. I didn't want to break down to get through those moments. No one wants to cry every day, several times a day, however much it takes. But that's what real soothing looks like sometimes. You got to process those emotions. You don't overpower the chaos. You absorb it, and then you soften it, and you bring it back to center. And here's the lesson. The standard of behavior in a family is set by the most balanced person in the room. Not the loudest, not the most frustrated, the most balanced. That isn't just parenting. That's leadership. That's how that works. Leadership, the largest scale. Now, at the leadership level, imbalance scales. Influence without any balance creates very fragile systems. Fear-based leadership creates compliance, not trust. And compliance collapses under pressure. That's why systems often look strong until they're tested. Power doesn't make people dangerous. Lack of balance does. different environment, same pattern. Awareness versus compliance. In safety training, there is a concept called situational awareness. Some of you may have heard of it. It's not paranoia. It's noticing what's happening instead of what you wish were happening. Ignoring your environment isn't innocent. It's very dangerous. Choosing not to look because looking feels uncomfortable. In personal safety, that's exposure. In families, it's unresolved tension. In leadership, it becomes policy. Avoidance doesn't create peace. It delays impact. Let's be clear. De-escalation over domination. Anyone trained in real safety understands this. The goal is not domination. It's de-escalation. The strongest person in the room is usually the one who can slow everything down. That takes balance. That takes restraint. That takes judgment. Wisdom looks boring to people addicted to adrenaline, but it's what actually keeps people alive. Sophia, naming the pattern. So across history, cultures use different words for this. One of them was Sophia, meaning wisdom. Not intelligence, not dominance. Wisdom under pressure. Discernment. Timing. Moral restraint. In early philosophy, in early Christianity, wisdom wasn't about certainty or control, believe it or not. It was about judgment. As power centralized politically and religiously and economically, wisdom lost priority. It lost priority to obedience. That became what was important. Not because wisdom was wrong, but because wisdom creates internal authority. And people with internal authority are very, very much harder to control and be obedient. So wisdom didn't disappear. It just was deprioritized. It was kind of squished out. Rules replaced judgment. Compliance replaced discernment. Control replaced balance. What people call the return of Sophia. It's not a spiritual event. From my perspective, based on what I've seen, it's a generational behavioral awakening. Different ages, different environments, same realization. Domination does not create safety. Being the loudest one in the room, scariest in the room, doesn't work the way you think it does. That fear that's created, it doesn't create stability. That's not what it does. Power without balance always collapses. It's just a matter of time. Why change matters? Change scares people because fear has been framed as safety. But change isn't the problem. Stagnation and insanity are. We can't keep doing the same things over and over, expecting different results. Every unsafe system, every unhealthy family pattern, every failed leader, every collapsing institution didn't fail because things changed too fast. They failed because nothing changed when it mattered. Change is how correction happens. Without it, imbalance becomes familiar to everyone. And when imbalance feels normal, people stop questioning it, even when it's actually harming them. Change begins with honesty. Honesty about what isn't working. Honesty about what we've been tolerating. Honesty about the role we play in maintaining it. Because we are always teaching something. Every decision becomes a lesson. How we speak when we're tired. How we handle frustration in front of others. What we excuse. What we normalize. Our children are watching. Anyone's children are watching. And even when we don't have children, the culture we participate in becomes the culture that you leave behind for those kids, whether you like it or not. If we don't choose change, we do not preserve stability for the next generation. That's where we're at. What we're doing now is we're preserving dysfunction in a very sad way. Change matters because it's how responsibility shows up. Not through perfection, but through decisions that say, this stops with me. This gets handled differently this time. Or this doesn't get passed down to my kids. That's why change matters. Because the future isn't something that happens to us. It's something we already are shaping every single day. The call. I'm not asking you to fix society, believe it or not. I'm asking you to start where your influence is real. Your nervous system. Your home. Your relationships. Your own boundaries. Every system is made of people. Every culture reflects what people tolerate. And if I can stay balanced after what I've seen, you can stay balanced in your own life. Trust me. You do not need to be louder. You do not need to be harder. You need clarity. And clarity comes from balance. Closing. Every system reflects the inner state of the people running it. If we want a different world, we need different inner worlds. Balanced ones. Peace within first, then power. That's the order. Thank you. I appreciate you staying with me. Again, this is just something that brings my work together, that translates through society, lots of different environments and situations. And I wanted to shed light on what I'm trying to do now in correcting the harm that's just growing right now. And I hope you took a lot from this, and keep listening. There'll be more things to come. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Every story I tell is a piece of truth we all carry. The lessons we hide, the power we forget we have, and the calm we fight to protect. My work is about normalizing the conversations most people avoid, the ones that make us uncomfortable, but also make us stronger. I believe difficult subjects deserve clarity, not shame. And I'm here to help create that language, one truth at a time. If this episode made you think, breathe, or feel a little braver, please subscribe and stay close. You can find more of my work or my workshops and upcoming events at mzhaze.com, mzhaze.com, or follow along on Instagram at mzhaze5280. Until next time, be deliberate, be dangerous with purpose, and never apologize for your presence. Thank you.